Tom Talks. It's back again! Hello all, and welcome to the 8th episode of Tom Talks, the programme where we talk about everything to do with Blue Bastard. Except this episode isn't exactly going to be about Blue Bastard, and today we're going to find out why. Take it away, Sheffield. So what does overhated mean? According to Wiktionary, overhated essentially means when something is given an excessive amount of hate. Believe you me, there are plenty of overhated things in this world, especially in Thomas. One of these overhated aspects of the show happens to be one of the 8 core characters of the show. She's a character who's gained a lot of negative feedback over the years, and it's, to me, rather unwarranted, at least for the most part. And that character's name is Emily the Stirling Engine. Today, we're going to be looking at Emily's character traits across the series, and see if the hate she's gained from Twitter users and YouTubers alike really are justified. How much hate does Emily deserve? Let's find out! To start, we'll take a look at Emily's personality traits in her debut series, Series 7. In her 3 major appearances, those being Emily's new coaches, What's the Matter with Henry and Salty's Stormy Tale, each angle of her personality is explored. In her debut story, we learn she's a kind new engine who's open to making new friends, though has much to learn, on top of being very brave and will not hesitate to come to the rescue in a dire situation. In What's the Matter with Henry, we see her sympathetic angle, where we find out she'll lend a buffer to suffering engines when others won't. Finally, in Salty's Stormy Tale, we learn that she isn't afraid to get snappy when it comes to putting misbehaving engines in their place. Most fans will tell you that this is Emily's superior character portrayal, while the rest will tell you that these traits make her a somewhat generic character, as if her roles could have been replaced with the likes of Edward, and nothing would really change. So where do I stand? Personally, I like that she shares similar traits to Edward. With very, very few exceptions, most new characters are often depicted with something that fuels a story where karma eventually bites them in the arse. Whereas with Emily, she doesn't have that same trope in her introductory story and her other appearances. While her traits are similar to Edward's, that's a good thing, because it means she's on the same level as him, which, as I said, is a bit of a rarity. I wish I could give the same level of praise to her next portrayal. Honestly, the way people talk about Emily's later model series character portrayal, you'd think she started World War III or something. That's because in this era, Emily was, to put simply, butchered. Her character was almost completely changed. Right away, from Series 7 to 8, she was given a sort of Vicky personality, which ultimately destroyed her reputation among fans. This is the smoking gun for why Emily has garnered so much hate over the years. Every complaint you hear regarding Emily, it's all the result of her later model series character. As for where I stand on her character during this era, I honestly don't think it's that bad. It's not good per se, but it's not awful. Most of the time, Emily doesn't mean to upset others with her attitude. For instance, in Thomas, Emily and the Snowplow, Emily tries to help Thomas out, but Thomas being Thomas ignores her and even goes so far as to snap at her. And hell, sometimes she's not always like this, such as in Chickens to School, everyone's favourite episode, where she tries to help Thomas when she sees him struggling. So overall, while yes, this is definitely Emily's weakest portrayal, it's not entirely abysmal. Exactly the same as her next portrayal. So we're just going to cut to Series 17 onwards with this section of the video. Why? Tom Talks rule number 1, we don't talk about the Nitrogen era. In this era of the show, there was an attempt to bring Emily back to her original character. No more bossy, impatient, rude, Vicky-like Emily. No. While I feel there was a clear attempt to try and fix her for good, part of me feels like something's kinda off. Like, they did fix her, and that's a good thing, but I think it's at the cost of making her the weakest of the main characters. There's a recurring theme of Emily in the CGI era where they keep bringing up that Emily, unlike the other members of the Steam team, hasn't done anything absolutely noteworthy. Think about it. Out of all the core characters, who hasn't exactly had a crazy moment? Exactly. They did try to give Emily some landmark moments, but they usually resulted in some of the worst episodes from this era. Other times, she's usually paired up with someone like Caitlyn or Donald and Douglas. Oh, I've got plenty to say about them next time. In short, Emily in CGI is definitely an improvement over the last series, though I feel like the writers kind of struggled with her. So now it's time to answer the question posed in the thumbnail. Does Emily deserve all the hate she gets? From everything we've seen regarding Emily, I think I'd say no. Yes, her character was changed for the worse in the later model series, but aside from that little hiccup, what is there really to dislike about Emily? Her character may be comparable to Edward, but that's a good thing, because it means we have another character on his level. She may not have done anything crazy noteworthy, but not every character has to. So overall, the hatred towards Emily is pretty unwarranted. Besides, most of the Emily hate comes from people who really need to get the fuck outside for once. So, that was my thoughts on Thomas's most overhated character. What do you make of the hatred towards Emily? And who do you think is the most overhated character? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. Before I leave, we shall head over to Engineer Pixel Toby to see his opinion on Emily. Go for it, Pixel! That gag is older than my grandmother.